I'm dealt ace-queen offsuit in the big blind. The button opens at 30, he's a certified maniac. I played with him for years, mostly at Red Rock, where in episode 38, I had aces, and he limp 5-bet shoved on me pre-flop with queen-jack suited. It didn't go well for him. The small blind is a vlog watcher named Travis from Portland. He 3-bets to 120. I don't want to cold call a 3-bet and give this wild dude behind me decent odds to call, which I'm almost 100% sure he'll do with any two cards. Also, I could easily have the best hand, since the other two opponents will have relatively wide ranges from their positions. I cold 4-bet to 310. The button folds immediately. The small blind flats for 190 more. He has 1135 remaining in his stack. He probably would have 5-bet with aces, kings, ace king, and maybe queens. Perhaps he has something like ace-queen suited, jacks, 10s, or 9s. We're heads up in position. The flop comes ace-7-3 with 2 clubs. We have top pair and a backdoor flush draw. I'm glad we connected. Small blind checks. I'm not sure many worse hands can reasonably call a bet on this board. I check back for deception and pot control on the off chance that I'm up against ace-king. I'm not concerned at all about there being a flush draw out there, since the ace and queen of clubs are both accounted for. There aren't many combos of clubs remaining that I'd expect my opponent to 3-bet and then call a 4-bet with. I suppose maybe king-jack or jack-10 suited, but those don't seem that likely. The turn is the 8 of clubs. We pick up a flush draw of our own. The small blind takes it upon himself to bet 300. I completely under-repped my hand on the previous street. It's possible that I've induced a bluff from my opponent. It looks a lot like I have kings or queens and don't like what the dealers put out there. In reality, I'm perfectly fine with it. I call. The small blind has 835 left in his stack and I have him slightly covered. The river is another 7. It shouldn't have changed anything. The opponent puts me to the test and he rips it in. After checking back flop, I don't see how I can fold here. The most probable hand that I'm up against that's beating me is ace-king. As I mentioned earlier, the player might have 5-bet that pre-flop rather than call a 4-bet and play out of position. There's a tiny chance that I'm up against pocket aces or 8s, or king-jack or jack-10 of clubs. We've seen how viewers of the vlog tend to want to come after me. Maybe that's what's happening here, especially when it looks like I didn't connect at all with the ace. No way I'm folding, given how this has been played.
Call.
Flush.
Jesus.
Nice time. The opponent indeed has jack-10 of clubs. It's hands like these that give me nightmares. I replay them over and over and wonder what I could have done or should have done differently. I'm good with pretty much everything in this situation. I guess I could have folded to a river shove, but if this guy's calling my cold 4-bets with suited connectors from out of position, I'd expect him to turn a lot of those into bluffs at some point when he misses. He happened to be extremely strong when I was pretty strong myself. I've got to shake it off and try and play my best going forward. I add on for 1400 more. I get no mental breaks. Just 2 hands later, I pick up pocket jiggities on the button. I genuinely didn't love this hand several years ago, but since I started making jokes about it, I feel like I've run really well when I pick it up. Anyway, a player in middle position opens at 30. The high jiggity calls. I'm not going to flat. I 3-bet to 120. The initial preflop raiser puts in the 4-bet to 330. I could be crushed if he has aces, kings, or queens. I might be a slight favorite if he has a hand like ace-king. The hijack folds. I'm getting a decent price with huge implied odds. I'm not a big fan of playing another giant pot immediately after doubling someone up. I'm not folding though. I call. We're about to go heads up in a big 4-bet pot in position. This is where I need your help. If you'd like the dealer to put out a third jiggity, hit that like button on the count of 3. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. The flop comes 8-7-3 with 3 diamonds. Damn it, it didn't work. The good news is that we still have an overpair and we have the jack-high flush draw. We get even better news as the opponent checks. I don't think he'd do that with kings or queens with a diamond. Maybe he'd do it with ace-king of diamonds or aces with the ace of diamonds as a trap. A lot of the time, he won't have any diamond in his hand and we'll be ahead by a wide margin, or at least we'll be in decent shape. I want to deny equity from ace-king hands, particularly ones containing 1 diamond. I bet 400. The opponent is thinking about what he wants to do. My sense is that he genuinely isn't sure what action to take. Ultimately, he slides in a stack of black chips that has me covered. I double check to make sure that I have the jack of diamonds. Another interesting thing about my situation is that I went slightly north when I added on for 1400. I started the hand with about 1565, which is slightly more than the $1,500 max. Technically, 65 of those chips shouldn't be in play. If I call and lose, I won't say anything and I'll give my entire stack to the opponent. If I call and win, I'll make sure that the opponent doesn't have to pay me extra. For the sake of the amount that I'm considering calling, we'll assume that I'd be drawing near dead because that's how I tend to do things, and it'll be 835 for me to continue on. I'm not at all in the folding mood. I might lose $3,000 in a stretch of 3 hands. Buckle your seats. I'm calling.
All right.
I have no idea what the situation is. This could just be a quick session in which I get torched. The turn is the 7 of spades. Shouldn't change anything. The river is the jack of clubs. We backdoor a full house and have the second nuts in a huge pot. You guys smashing the like button earlier obviously helped bring the run good, but it just took a little time to reach Bellagio. I'm almost 100% sure that we have the best hand, so I'm not going to slow roll, although the opponent is supposed to show his cards first since I called his shove. The other players at the table are shocked to see what we have and the run out.
Wow, chickadee.
The opponent voluntarily reveals that we got extremely lucky.
Aces, Jesus. Alright, it should just be 1500. I might have been a little bit more, but I shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah, it should be 15, but you are
Nice one.
I make sure that the opponent doesn't pay me more than he has to. I'm in shock after losing a pretty brutal hand, and then immediately getting about as lucky as possible against pocket aces with the ace of diamonds. I told you the jiggies have been good to me lately. It's quickly become my favorite hand. Things can change rapidly. With a flip of a card in poker, we go from being stuck piles to actually having a small profit. It's not over either. A few orbits later, we pick up pocket fives in the hijack. There's a double straddle on, so it's 5, 10, 20, 40. I could go either way with raising or folding. A lot of players are deep, including me, so I raised a 150. The small blind is a young Dutch pro. There's a group of them in Las Vegas. In my opinion, the Dutch are definitely the friendliest and most fun to play with out of the different European cliques out here. Anyway, the small blind puts in a tiny 3-bet to 330. It's almost a min raise and he's out of position. I'm not letting my cards go. I call to see if there's any magic left in the tank. We're heads up. The flop comes Queen 10-5 rainbow. We flop bottom set in a large pot. The opponent bets 220. He started the hand with 1565. Over a third of that is already in the middle. I don't have much to worry about if I'm ahead. If the small blind has aces or kings, he'll only have 2 outs. And if he has ace king, he'll only have 4 outs. I call to keep all of his one pair ace high hands in. The turn is the ace of hearts. Could be bad if he has pocket aces. Getting set over set is super rare though. If that's the case here, it's just bad luck. The ace could be great if the opponent happens to have ace king or ace queen. The player checks, which doesn't mean much to me. I imagine he'd do that with pretty much every hand that he could have that we've already discussed, as well as something like kings and some small suited aces. The ball is in my court. If he has ace queen, we should be able to get all the money in right now. If he has ace king or some other top pair hand, I want to try and milk him when he's drawing dead to 4 outs or less. I bet 400. After a short while, the small blind shoves for $1,015 total. It's $615 more for me. I'm not going anywhere.
All in.
Cool.
Okay.
Aces? Queens. Fuck. 3 seconds.
Oh, that's sick.
Nice hand, nice hand.
Pot for Dome. It's another massive pot. I can't get in any type of rhythm this session. We've gotten it in bad 3 times and are only stuck 1,400, so that's good, but I've been in quite a few tough situations for lots of money already, and once again, I'm in a giant hole that I have to get out of. About 5 hours into the session, we pick up pocket 10s in the cutoff. I opened at 30. The button calls, the small blind calls, the big blind is a new transfer player with a large stack named Sam. He 3-bets at 200. He might have a legitimate hand, but this is set up perfectly for him to squeeze. I opened in late position and got 2 calls, all of a wide opening range from the cutoff. I happen to be towards the top of it now. The players behind me probably don't have much. I call for 170 more. The button and small blind both fold. We're heads up, in position with lots of money in the middle already. I'm gonna need to win this pot to get partially or potentially all the way out of the hole that I'm in, and I need your help to do it. You guys hitting the like button worked so well last time. I'm gonna ask you to unlike it, just to like it again once more on the count of 3. For those of you who haven't liked it already, this is your chance to redeem yourselves. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. The flop is 10-8-5 rainbow. It works immediately this time. We've got top set, and the opponent bets 200. I consider slow playing it and calling. Normally I would. In fact, I did in the other hand when I flopped a set in a 3-bet pot. This time I raised to 500. I might do this with something like queen jack suited as a bluff, or pocket jacks in order to deny equity from ace king type of hands. Another benefit of doing it with jacks is that it would allow me to take control of the pot, check back turn, and get to the river cheaply. Here I'm doing it to give the big blind an opportunity to re-raise with aces or kings. It also builds up the pot right now before a potential overcard comes out if he has jacks or queens. I have almost 1,200 behind, so the player could shove as a bluff if he happens to be weak and doesn't believe that I'd ever raise with a hand better than 1 pair on a relatively dry board like this one. The player calls for 300 more. It's another big pot that we're involved in. The turn is a queen. This is awful for us. We could be up against pocket queens. If we get set over set twice today, I might throw up. Pocket jacks won't like this turn either. The big blind checks. I've got 1180 total. It's less than a pot-sized bet. I want to get as much money in now before a 9, jack, or any other scared card comes out. This is the moment of truth. Let's rip it.
All in.
I don't get snap called like I would if I was up against a set or better, so I know that I'm currently holding the best hand. The player seems to have a real decision. He must have aces or kings. He's tanking. Maybe I shouldn't have jammed. I really don't want to let him off the hook with those holdings. He's not getting away. Finally, he calls. We're playing almost a 4K pot. We just need to hold one time in order to have a nice profit on the day. The river is the 6 of diamonds. It's essentially a blank. I turn over my set. Sam takes it like a champion and lets me know it's a winner.
Thanks.
I don't think that I've ever played this many $3,000 plus pots in a single session before. Lots of coolers happened. I got stuck a buy-in, then I got it back, then got stuck a buy-in again. I battled long and hard today. I've been at a fun table, but I'm also somewhat emotionally drained. With this pot, I'm up 900. I play for an hour more and lose a little back in some small hands before booking a medium-sized win. After being down 1,400 on 2 different occasions, it feels like a massive win for me.